Today we will be making 4 servings of beef in black bean sauce with rice. To start, let's prepare our beef. Here I have about 600 grams of rump steak because it is lean and cheap, although you could use any other cut of beef too. I am first going to trim off any additional fat and connective tissue. I also cut the steaks into smaller pieces wherever there was a natural separation. This also helps to remove any connective tissue in the interior of the steak. After I was happy with the trimming, I cut any larger pieces into thinner strips so that it is easier to cut into pieces. I did this along the direction of the muscle fibers so that when we cut it into smaller pieces, we can cut against the grain. Then with each strip, I slice this as thinly as possible against the grain and on a little bit of an angle to make each piece a little wider. You don't have to cut it this thin, but it seems to turn out more tender when it is thinner. After slicing all the beef, put this into a bowl. I ended up with around 500 grams at the end. To the beef, add 1 tablespoon of corn flour or cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of white sugar, half a teaspoon of bicarb or baking soda, 1 small pinch of 5-spice powder, 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, and 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing cooking wine. Then massage this all into the meat. I try to be quite rough with the marinating as it is supposed to help further tenderize the meat, although I don't know if this is completely true or not. In either case, after about a minute or so, everything was mixed and I set this aside in the fridge until it is needed for cooking. After washing our cutting board and knife, we can now prepare the vegetables. You can pretty much use any vegetables you like here, but I am using carrot and onion today as I find they last quite well in the fridge even after multiple days. For the carrot, cut 1 carrot in half and then in half again lengthways. Slice the carrot on a diagonal into fairly thin pieces, but not too thin. The idea here is to end up with pieces that are similar in size to the strips of meat. Repeat this for the other piece of carrot and for the other half. For the onion, slice it in half from end to end. Cut each end off and peel the skin. Then slice from end to end into strips similar in size to the pieces of carrot. Then repeat the same process with the other half of the onion. Once the vegetables are all prepared, put them in a bowl and set them aside ready for cooking. Next, let's prepare our aromatics. First, we will need 4 cloves of garlic. Lightly smash each clove, cut off the ends and the skin should come off easily. Then with each peeled clove, smash it forcefully with the side of your knife and chop it up roughly. Once each clove has been smashed and chopped, gather it all together and chop it up a little more to get everything a little finer. And the most important ingredient for this dish are the black beans. I believe these are salted and fermented black soybeans which you can find at most Asian supermarkets or in the international section of a Western supermarket. I am using around half a tablespoon of beans which need to be rinsed with water before using. You can use more beans than this if you like, but these have a very strong flavour, so adjust it to your liking. I just added the beans into the bowl with the garlic and mashed them up a little so they can break down before we cook them. Once this is done, set the bowl aside until it is ready to use. And lastly, let's make the sauce. To a bowl, add 1 tablespoon of corn flour or cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of white sugar, 1 teaspoon of chicken stock powder, half a teaspoon of white pepper, 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Shaoxing cooking wine, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, 1 teaspoon of dark soy sauce, and half a cup of cold water. Mix everything to combine and our sauce is ready. Now that everything is prepared, we can begin cooking. Everything comes together very quickly for this dish, so we want to have everything ready before we start cooking. Here I have my wok set up on the stove with all my ingredients right next to it for easy access. Once you are ready, heat the wok on maximum heat until it starts smoking. Add half a tablespoon of high heat cooking oil and swirl it around to coat the surface. Add the vegetables and spread them around in a single layer. Let them sit for 20 seconds or so before stirring them around and letting them sit again. We aren't really trying to cook the vegetables here, we are just trying to get some charring on them. After about 1 minute in the wok total, remove the vegetables from the wok and put them back into the same bowl. Let the wok heat up again until it starts smoking. Add 1 tablespoon of oil and then add the beef. Spread this around to get as much surface contact with the wok as possible and let it sit for about a minute or so. Once you've got some good browning on the bottom of the beef, stir it around and let it sit again. Repeat this a few times until you are happy with the colour. Once you are happy, add the garlic and black beans and stir everything around for about a minute. Then add the vegetables back in and mix everything together. Now we can add the sauce. Just make sure to stir the sauce before it goes in because the corn flour will probably have set at the bottom of the bowl. The sauce should quickly start to thicken up once it is heated. Mix everything together until you are happy with the thickness of the sauce. And if you want more or less sauce, you can add more or less water than what we added to the mixture. I like the sauce to coat all the meat and vegetables, but not to be swimming in sauce. For my liking, if the sauce doesn't pool at the bottom of the wok, it is ready. Once you are happy with the consistency, turn the wok off and add a teaspoon of sesame oil and mix it through. Taste your stir fry and add salt if needed. I added a pinch more salt to mine. Then our stir fry is done. We can move on to making the rice. For the rice, I like to use half a cup of raw jasmine rice per serving, which equates to 2 cups total since we are making 4 servings. Add water to the pot and rinse the rice until the water becomes cloudy. I like to rinse my rice 3 to 4 times for good measure. Once rinsed, strain the rice and add it back to the pot along with 2 1/4 cups of water. I also like to add a pinch of salt to my rice. Put the rice on the stove and heat on high heat until it starts to boil and there is visible steam. Once boiling, put the lid on, turn the heat down to low and set a timer for 12 minutes. After 12 minutes, turn the heat off and let it rest with the lid on for another 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we should have some perfectly cooked rice. A good sign is if there is no rice stuck to the bottom of the pot. Fluff the rice to help remove excess steam and let it cool for a few minutes. Now that our stir fry and rice are cooked, we can add it to our containers. Evenly distribute the rice into 4 containers on one side. Then add the beef to the other half. For reference, these are 1 litre containers. I also added some chopped spring onion over the top just for presentation purposes. Let these sit for a few more minutes to cool down slightly and let off excess steam. And once they have rested, we can put the lids on and store these in the fridge for up to around 1 week. To serve, just microwave to heat it up and your meal is ready to enjoy. Each of these servings ended up being 613 calories with 37 grams of protein, 86 grams of carbohydrate and 12 grams of fat.